This is a crisis which demands a much greater federal government response.
Not only providing them free health care and free education K through 12, but they're also using falsified documents to get on state benefits.
We have 152,000 prisoners in our prison system. Of that, 5,000 to 7,000 are illegal aliens.
It's failed leadership on a $27 billion budget. There was no undocumented immigrant that created a $27 billion budget.
As state lawmakers hit their deadline to file bills this session, plenty of immigration legislation popped up. More than 100 pieces at last count. And this morning, our On Politics panel has an array of media heavy hitters who deal with that issue day in and day out. And a lively debate between two of the most outspoken members of the House, Representatives Rafael Anchia and Leo Berman, go head-to-head on immigration, the border, and some very unexpected topics. Next on Session 11.
From KXAN Austin News, this is Session 11, live interactive breakdowns, insights, interviews, and our weekly roundtable discussion. You're watching Session 11 on KXAN Austin News.
Good morning, I'm Josh Hinkle. Thanks for joining us this morning for Session 11. This week at the state capitol, we saw Agriculture Commissioner Todd Staples announce his new website for farmers and ranchers on the border to document the danger they're experiencing from suspected drug cartels. The move to persuade the federal government to step in also brought plenty of pushback as extremists clogged the site, calling for a vigilante movement. But we also saw bills on the opposite side of that spectrum that would create a program for immigrants to legally work in the state. This morning, you'll want to log on to KXAN.com, and while you're there, click on the On Politics tab at the top. You'll go straight to our special political site where you can find our latest coverage and blogs. Plus, click the blue bar at the top to chat with us this morning. We're talking immigration and border. Our On Politics panel will field your questions later in the program. And right now, two state lawmakers take on the immigration debate this morning. One is known as one of the most conservative members of the Texas House and has sponsored his own handful of bills aimed at immigrants. The other is the son of immigrants from Mexico and Spain. That's Representative Rafael Anchia, a Democrat from Dallas. He's in his fourth term in the House. He serves as vice chair of the Pensions, Investments, and Financial Services Committee and also serves on the Land and Resource Management Committee. And then you have Representative Leo Berman, a Republican from Tyler who began his career in the House in 1998. He serves on the Defense and Veterans Affairs and the Elections Committees. This week, our own Robert Hatlock sat down with the two men in our studio.
The federal government is supposed to be doing this. They haven't done anything for 10 years, and now we have over 2 million illegal aliens in Texas at a cost of $6 billion a year, not only providing them free health care and free education K through 12, but they're also using falsified documents to get on state benefits, benefits like food stamps, 8 dependent children, Medicaid. So, you know, it's time to do something about it. We just can't let 2 million people run around illegally in the state of Texas.
What about that point? They are a strain on our budget.
Well, the comptroller in 2006 did a study on the contributions of immigrants to the state of Texas, and she determined that at the state level, there's roughly about $450 million worth of economic benefit to the state. At the local level, I think Representative Berman is right that there is a cost to the state, roughly about $950 million. So the delta between the 450 at the state level and the 950 at the local level, $500 million, right? So if you consider that what it cost the state, the comptroller went on to do an econometric model and say, what is the total economic benefit? And she concluded it was $17.7 billion. Now, I represent some pretty sophisticated investors in the state of Texas as a corporate finance lawyer. And if you say, listen, for $500 million, we can get a $17.7 billion benefit, I think they take that deal every time. And I will say, we have not seen a massive influx of immigrants from other states. Texas actually, vis-a-vis our neighboring states, has done quite well. economically. If you put us on and compare us to our neighboring peer states, we're doing very, very well economically. The benefit to Texas of the people who work in the hospitality industry or agriculture or construction or food service is enormous. And I do agree with Representative Berman that our federal laws are broken, but adding to an already broken federal system, an underfunded state system, I think would be a disaster and a recipe for disaster for the Texas economy.
Well, I want to talk about the Strayhorn, the former comptroller study that Raphael is talking about, and we are good friends.
Sure.
Strayhorn concluded that illegal aliens contribute $17 billion to the Texas economy, and that is true, they do. But what is the Texas economy? The Texas economy is a $1 trillion economy. Illegal aliens make up almost 8% of our population right now. So 8% of our population is contributing 2% to our economy. That's a minuscule amount. We're housing 25,000 in our jails. Many of our hospitals are treating people for multi-drug resistant tuberculosis, polio, the plague. They're in these hospitals for 2 or more years. Right in Mr. Anchia's home county of Dallas, at Parkland Hospital, 70% of the new births are of illegal aliens. In Fort Worth and Tarrant County, 75% of the new births are of illegal aliens. When is it going to stop? When are we going to start realizing that we are a nation of laws? We don't come from countries south of the border where the law is non-existent right now. You have drug cartels using gangs of illegal aliens in Texas. And we have a lot of gangs in Texas. And half of them are made up of illegal aliens. They're dealing drugs. They're killing. And we've got to act now. And this is the session where we can. And to make it quite clear, the people of Texas want it done. And you can see by the numbers in the House and the Senate and the 29 statewide elected positions, they're all controlled by Republicans, and most of them are conservative.
Representative Berman has introduced a bill requiring English to be the official language of the state of Texas. What are your views on that?
Well, Mr. Berman, I think, misspoke when he said none of us are from south of the border. I'm the son of immigrants. My mother is from Mexico City. My father's from northern Spain. And, you know, Spanish has been part of the Texas history for ever since the foundation of this this state. In fact, it's really interesting. I'm reading Stephen F. Austin's biography, and he actually renounced his U.S. citizenship to become a Mexican citizen, served in the Mexican state legislature after he came to what was then Texas y Coahuila from Tennessee. So there's a long tradition of this being a region that embraces bilingualism. We don't want to go the way of California under Pete Wilson and do a Prop 187. We saw how divisive and damaging that was. I think English-only legislation just distracts from what is a broader question of failed leadership, frankly. And it's failed leadership on a $27 billion budget. There was no undocumented immigrant that created a $27 billion budget, $10 billion of which was created as a result of the tax swap that we did in 2006. And there was no illegal immigrant that was a Wall Street banker that created the collapse of our financial system worldwide. So, I mean, we frequently, when we don't want to own unpopular political decisions, and when we don't want to face up to our shortcomings in leadership, I think Representative Berman called it right. Yes, there are 28 statewide Republican elected officials, and guess what? We've got a $27 billion shortfall under their watch that they created when they've been in control. So the next thing they want to do is blame it on Jose and Maria, the illegal immigrant. I tell you, none of them was on the House floor when we were voting on the failed tax swap in 2006. Yet they're receiving all the blame for it.
You're shaking your head.
I'm shaking my head because I'm amazed that the blame for this 25, or I think it's 20 now, 10 for each year, that the blame is being put on the Texas Republicans when you got a man in the White House by the name of Obama who spent $876 billion trying to straighten out the economy and create jobs in his very first year in office, and nothing has happened yet. And now we're $14.3 trillion in debt. And the bulk of that was spent by Barack Obama in Washington. So to say that Republican tax swap, the franchise tax for the property tax was a $10 billion shortfall this year, no, that's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable.
Isn't that the overall problem, the national budget
Well, it's
deficit?
really funny. It's really funny to me because, you know, if you can't blame it on the immigrant, blame it on the president, right? The president has nothing to do with this $27 billion deficit at the state level. It was Republicans in control here at the state level that did the tax swap, that missed on the revenue estimate, and now we find ourselves in this hole. In fact, the irony is that if it hadn't been for the stimulus package last session, which Republicans gladly took $16 billion of last session to balance the budget, we wouldn't have the $10 billion in the rainy day fund today to help balance the budget this session.
Now, their debate over immigration goes on for another 25 minutes. Everything from Representative Debbie Riddle's controversial immigrant worker bill to English as the official language of Texas. We have the entire thing streamed on our website, onpolitics.com. Just search for this story on the main page, but we're not done with them just yet. Up next,
transgender and transvestite. It's, you know, you cross-dress and you're a transvestite.
We've had plenty of chatter over that comment in the social media world. Hear why Leo Berman brought it up next when our Newsmaker debate continues. Stay with us.